to another Hyping Hop episode of Hot Dog Live. Woo-hoo! I'm your host, Jared. We got our special guest, Cammy Maughan, aka my mom. We're heating things up once again with our juicy discussion, ranging from art to Jesus Christ and everything in between. Today's divine sequel. We're thrilled to have our special guest, my mom, returning to share more of her lifelong Latter-day Saint perspective. But before we jump into deep end of our conversation, a friendly reminder: our perspectives are based solely on personal experiences and observations, not legal advice. Remember, always seek your own truth. Love God, love people, love thy neighbor as thyself. So grab your condiments and let's dive back into another round of divine insights on this episode of Hot Dog Live.
I like all your little play on words with condiments and everything.
Well, welcome back there, Cammy, Mom. Cammy Maughan, Cammy Mom.
Yeah. How you doing?
Doing well. I went back and I watched our episode. And besides, my mic not being good, so I hope people can hear me on this one. I'm figuring this stuff out. This is my third episode of Hot Dog Live. But I wanted to do a part 2 because last time my internet went out, so just abruptly ended it once the people started hopping on. But I wanted to do another part 2 because there was just so much juicy information that I just want to just move on. Plus, I have some insight from the way what I experienced, me personally, growing up in the LDS church, and why I'm not part of it now. And just hearing some more. We've got some more questions too that I wanted to ask Cammy. And yeah, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I had today off, so I was able to get some sleep and rest a little bit. Oh, thank you.
You look very good.
I appreciate it.
Look very beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Were you able to go back and watch the last episode? Was there anything that you feel that you missed and wanted to cover?
Well, we were just I just kind of wanted to explain what happened at the very end there. So Jared, all of a sudden, if you were on the call or if you've watched it, Jared all of a sudden froze and I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't know if the people that were on the call could still hear me or not. Anyway, Jared, what happened?
I started to talk about my experience in the Mormon church, and then all of a sudden it just went dead, and for some reason my router just turned off.
And I thought that since you're the one hosting, I thought that it would have cut me off, but it let me talk for a little bit longer. So anyway, and there was some people that still had some questions, and I was just trying to help them. So maybe right now you could tell them, if you have questions that don't get answered, how can they reach you or reach me? What should they do if they want to get a hold of?
If they're comfortable, if you are comfortable leaving a comment on here with a question that you have, please just leave it here. I do go back through and I look at the comments and try to answer them as best as possible. But hit me up on my socials right now. I have people from Snapchat. Just shoot me a message on Snapchat. If you're not connected, you're probably connected with on Facebook. Shoot me a message. Just on whatever social platform. If you are following me on that, just shoot me a message, and I will do the best we can to point you in the right direction to answer your questions.
Right. Yeah, and if you have questions while we're on here too, or comments, feel free to comment or ask questions. So yeah. No, I thought that I enjoyed it. It was you kind of I've never been put on the hot seat like that before, and so I was like, oh,
hot seat.
Yeah. So no, it was I enjoyed it myself. So hopefully everybody else did too. So
yeah, and also if you guys have any questions while you're watching, just feel free to just shoot the questions or comments down below, and then we'll get to them when we can. I feel the best place to start off would be just what I was just continue on what I was saying from last episode about the way that I was raised in the Mormon church and why am I not Mormon anymore, or do I follow that faith. I guess the best thing to, or the best way to start, well, it's just to start. But my mom, she's been a member of the Mormon church or the LDS church for,
Church of Jesus Christ.
and then also Latter-day Saint LDS. We're gonna go with Latter-day Saints, but the most common popular term is Mormon. It's not derogatory or anything.
No, and just for people who weren't
but we're
on the
just gonna
last
go with
one.
LDS.
Right. Just for the people who weren't on the last one. So the reason why people call us Mormon is because of the Book of Mormon, which is a set of scripture about the people in the Americas, and it is another testament of Christ. And so because it's called the Book of Mormon, they just kind of nicknamed us that, and we've used it too, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. But our actual name is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It can be a mouthful. And so, it was just kind of easier to just say I belong to the LDS church. And it's like, okay, well, the LDS,
LDS.
Things, LSD, what?
LSD?
So, yeah, and we really do want people to understand that Jesus Christ is is who we follow. And he's our savior. He's our redeemer, the only way to God in heaven. And so we wanted to really make sure that people understood that. So we just recently, they even changed the name of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir to the Tabernacle Choir at, to the choir at, to the let me think, to the choir at Tabernacle Square. No, what is it?
Don't hurt yourself.
It's not any easier. Okay, it's just not.
That's why acronyms are popular.
But if you want a little bit more of a shortcut, if you have people who are friends that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you can just call us Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Or we say
okay, and then the website. I wonder if I can put it down here in the comments.
There are 2 websites that you can go to if you have questions. One of them is Mormon.org, and that's probably because there's a lot of people that don't realize that we are the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So Mormon.org, you can go and you can ask any questions. You can have live chats or whatever. And the other one is churchofjesuschrist.org, and you can find out lots of different things
because I think and also after these recordings you can go down in the comments. Also, if you subscribe to this channel, get notifications. We'll be doing Hot Dog Live for, I don't know, as long as I can think of, but we'll be doing on here. And then any information will be in the description of that video when it's posted.
And you're going to be doing Thursday nights at 7 now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to Thursday nights at 7. And just because, I don't know, we'll keep it on a good routine. Thursdays at 7 work for me, and usually people aren't wanting to go out on Thursday nights at 7. So
yeah, Friday's just not a good night to do podcast.
Yeah, Friday night at 7. Yeah, it's like, Jamie, you attended the Mormon services before. What did you think? So before I dive into my upbringing in the LDS church, I wanted to bring up. I asked my mom, or I heard something about like a spaghetti monster. Whether like Mormons believe in like a spaghetti monster.
If we're afraid of the spaghetti monster.
Yeah. So I looked it up, and here's something off the web. It says no, Mormons don't believe in the flying spaghetti monster. The flying spaghetti monster is a sacrificial deity.
Satirical. It's satirical. It's
There we
making
go.
fun. It was created by a graduate student, I think at Boston College. I can't remember exactly.
This is it's a parody religion, the Pastafarians.
Right. And he was just making fun. Okay, so the way
making fun of the Mormon church.
The way that it started was the college or the university was going to start teaching intelligent creation or intelligent design or whatever, pretty much creative, the creation, as well as evolution. So they were going to be teaching both, and he didn't think that that was right, and so he created his own religion and protested that it should get as much airtime as evolution and creation theory. So that's what he started. But now there's people that it has gone so far as that the military has to allow people who are Pastafarians to wear spaghetti strainers on their head as part of their religious garb.
You could, and also in prisons and jails and stuff, you can request that too, but that would be worn.
Yeah.
Mental illness is a thing.
So Jared, this is the way that I look at it. Okay, Lucifer does not want people to talk about Jesus Christ. He wants to distract people as every which way that he possibly can from people finding Christ. And that is just another way that he's doing it.
Yep. Just distractions. It's just like
master of distraction.
If you're at all into magic and you know anything about magic tricks and illusion, you're just trying to, it's basically just the devil's just trying to do a sleight of hand to get you away from Jesus Christ and his message and the good news.
Wasting your time.
It's good. It's awesome.
Yep. Anyway, so that was when you told me that, I was like, what? And then I looked it up. I was like, oh my word. It's everywhere.
Yeah. I actually know somebody. I actually know somebody that claims to be a Pastafarian. So, like, it's on their social pages and stuff.
Yeah.
But they kind of do it as a joke. Because they don't practice it. Well, that's cool, Jamie. The missionaries or the visiting teachers, home teachers, came to your house and did a lot of nature walks. That's cool.
Yeah.
So as far as like my upbringing in the church, I remember I was talking about how my brother and I were picked on a lot by the same kids. That it was a small town, and so the same kids that we went to church with were the same kids that we went to school with, and a lot of them were just not nice at school or church. And so my brother got picked on a lot, way more than I did. And that right there, in those formative years as a kid, it messes you up. Like it instills some things in your head, and you associate these bullies and these kids, and it has nothing to do with the love of Jesus Christ.
Right.
There's a bunch of rambunctious children picking on one another, and that right there is kind of like Pavlov's dog. You know, the whole experiment. Where they ring the bell and associate something with something to the point where you have a physical reaction. That's the same thing with like getting bullied, and it's like, okay, well, church is supposed to be the
it's a trigger.
Yeah, it's a trigger. And it's supposed to be like this awesome place, and then it gets to the point where you're like, no, I just don't want to go. And it's like, I felt those feelings as an adult. And it wasn't until just a few months ago that I really turned my life over to Christ, and like fully, like not in the LDS faith, but just in the faith of Jesus Christ, like the love of Jesus Christ, and being able to have these conversations, and talking about this, because it's the first time that I think, Mom, you've probably heard me talk about, like, not the negative stuff, but just, I don't know, but not the impact that it could have had on me, as far as, the LDS church and stuff. But it just made it hard to really believe. When I associated all the negative feelings and emotions with like the church, it had associated with Jesus Christ, and it had associated with all this stuff, which was all false. It wasn't that. So that's why I love how, God says always seek the truth. Always seek knowledge, because it's like you have to choose to turn to the Lord. You have to choose to follow in His footsteps, and it's not. And it's choices, and it's like you just need structure.
Oh, Jamie, thank you.
So, and I've been to a bunch of different churches, but being raised in the church, there was just so many questions. Like, here's a question, Mom, and we've talked about this, and like, if you go into a Mormon church or an LDS church, you don't see crosses hanging up. Jeez, my hair's all sorts of crazy tonight. You don't see crosses hanging up. And the way that I perceived the crosses was that if I saw everyone else wearing a cross, or I saw a cross up on a church, I'm like, well, that's the wrong church. They're teaching some BS. They're focused on the wrong message. And so
that's what you thought. That's what you thought, that when you would see a cross on the church. Oh,
because since being in,
because we didn't have them.
Yeah. So why aren't there crosses in the LDS church?
Having the opportunity, I do appreciate us having these conversations, and asking questions, because it's given me an opportunity to do some research. A lot of times you'll hear something, oh, well, this is the reason. It's kind of like your mother cooks a roast and she cuts the corners off of it, and so you do that all the time, and somebody finally asks
you, don't ask questions, you just do it.
Why? Well, because that's the way you do it. That's why my mom did it, and the reason, and then you find out the reason that your mom did it is because she had too small of a pan and the roast wouldn't fit in there, so I think a lot of times we go through life that way, and being raised in the church, there's a lot of things that I grew up doing it, and I didn't know exactly why. And so being able to just go and do some research. And so it was kind of interesting because, so I think I told you that one of the reason why we don't use the cross is because we focus more on the living Christ, because the cross was not his final destination. He was put in the tomb and then raised from the dead. He rose, was resurrected 3 days after. And so that's what we focus on. But the research that I've seen is, there's lots of people that, like different religions, they have different feelings about the cross. And it's not that they're worshiping the cross. And I think some Latter-day Saints might kind of think that they're worshiping the cross. But they use that as their, I can't remember exactly how to verbalize it. How do you feel about your cross?
About the cross? I'm a symbolism type of guy. I like things. I like to wear things, like to make things. And it's not, and I don't, it's not like,
so why do you wear
it? I put it on and I get charged up, it's like with, if I don't have this on me, I'm gonna fall into some bad things. I'm gonna do bad things if I'm not wearing this. What I mean? No. The reason why I love it so much and why I like wearing it now, it's just a symbolism. It's like, because I've always been the kid that I don't like to do mainstream stuff. I don't like to watch the TV shows that everyone's watching. I'll watch them years afterwards to check it out because I'm interested. But I go to the beat of my own drum. And I also like to shake some feathers up. I like to ruffle some feathers in a good way. I like to shake things up. And wearing this all the time, because this is a rosary, and people are like, you're not Catholic. I'm like, it's actually just, if you're a believer of Christ, this just helps keep track of certain prayers. I'm like, which I do use from time to time, but it's not like I actually have a rosary book that I read into, and it's thick. It's like, if you want to do all these prayers, there's tons of them. It takes hours. Anyways, that's a whole different story, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know like anything about it so much. But it's just a remembrance. It's a symbol, and also it sparks conversation.
Right.
It sparks conversation.
Right.
And conversation of sometimes I'm afraid to have that conversation, and so if you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, so yeah, we don't have crosses on our churches, and we don't generally wear crosses. It's not against our religion to wear crosses. I have a belt that has crosses on it. I mean, we hold other things, sacred. And just understanding how people view, different people view the cross, and that it is a very sacred, very special thing to them. That's fine. But we do focus more on the living Christ, and we have lots and lots of pictures of Christ in our churches and everything. And we just try to make ourselves the symbol of what we believe, our lives, and the way that we treat people.
On that, the question or a comment, they hung out with the members of the church that came over to their house, but they didn't believe in dandelions, coffee, and other stuff. I never understood it.
Okay, so I understand the coffee. So the coffee, we have what's called the word of wisdom. It's like a kind of a health code. Joseph Smith received revelation that we shouldn't drink coffee or tea or liquor or that kind of thing. Our bodies are the temple of our soul, of our spirits, and so to be able to treat them the best way, then we stay away from that, or even anything else that is not good for our bodies, which is harder and harder and harder to do on a daily basis with everything that's in food. Anyway, but what about the dandelions? Yeah, so the cross is a remembrance of Jesus Christ. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so that's why the coffee, dandelions. I've actually had dandelion tea, which is really good for you. Dandelion coffee is really nasty, but it's supposed to be good for you. No. Yeah, Jamie, you said they believe that dandelion are a sign of Satan, and no, that's not.
Just everybody
that was
keep in mind,
because that's not the LDS church.
Just keep in mind that everybody's different in this world, and they have different insights and takes on things. And so and that's the thing about like the love of Christ and church, is a person could go to church and then get in a relationship with a person, and then that person does something bad to them, and they say God made me do it, or they blame it on God or something. They throw Jesus into it, and then all of a sudden that person gets salty, and well, that's not cool. I don't want any involvement with God or Jesus Christ, because the way I was treated was not okay. And so that right there is just associating stuff with negativity, and it's just like nah.
So Jamie, they actually freaked out every time they would see them.
They're just being
silly.
How
would you do springtime? Oh my word, you'd have to live on a cement block.
Did they own a lawn care company?
Yeah, really. Yeah, no, Jamie, that's not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, they did.
Mental illness is a thing. Just remember that.
Yeah,
it's a catchphrase, but it's means it's facts.
So there isn't any religion on the face of the earth that isn't run by a human being. We're all human, and so we all make mistakes. We all have our own idiosyncrasies, but there is truth in any religion that teaches coming to Christ. Yeah. And so when Jared started to look into other religions, I just wanted to make sure that he was, going to be following one that taught about Christ. And because truth is truth. It doesn't matter who says it. If it's true, it's true. So Jared,
can I interject really quick?
Yeah.
I do want to say, Mom, that you always showed open-mindedness. That's the right word. Because I remember asking, hey, my friends are going to this church camp, and it was like a Lutheran church camp, and you never told me no. You're like, sure, absolutely. And I thought that was kind of weird because I thought, it wasn't a Mormon thing, so therefore, what? And anytime I went to church with a friend that was a different church, you never once ever were like, no, absolutely not. So I appreciate that you always led with the open-mindedness because, like you said, doesn't matter if it's a Lutheran church or a Catholic church or whatever. If it's the truth of Jesus Christ, that's the truth. Now, whoever's saying it can say some other stuff, misinterpret other things, but if they're speaking truth of like Jesus Christ, love and mercy.
Yeah. And it was, so when I was growing up, so I mean, and still, anybody that is very, very strong in their religion is going to most likely want their children to grow up and marry somebody of the same faith. And I know that there have been different people that will only let their children associate with people of their same faith, which is not right. I mean, how are you supposed to be able to learn about other people? How are you supposed to be able to influence other people for the good? And it was getting to the point where our prophet was saying, hey, we are not in an exclusive club here where we want to keep all of our goodness to ourselves. Our church is very philanthropic, where when there's a disaster, we are the very first ones usually on scene.
Yeah.
During Hurricane Katrina, the people that were victims of Hurricane Katrina, there was a newscast, that was going around and talking to the people, and they said, "Oh my goodness, we have had so much help. The LDS Church has helped us, and so have the Mormons." It's like the same people. So, but anyway, so let's see.
The church I was introduced to by them were younger, and they were here for a number of months and had to relocate to another state to spread the word. Another LDS church, or what church? Mom, I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
So one of the things growing up in the Mormon church, I believed in karma, which I don't believe in karma now, because if you believe in karma, that means you think that if you do something mean, something mean's going to happen back, like God's going to punish you or the world's going to punish you. That's not how it works. That's not how this works. And then on Sundays were like the Sabbath day, right? And so we would go to church, and we wouldn't go shopping so much. Like going to the grocery store to pick up milk was like, whoa, you're at the store. All that making people work, all that kind of stuff. So that one time when we were at Fairmont Hot Springs with the water slide, and we're on a Sunday, and you come out of the tube, and you like wreck your ankle, right? Was it your ankle? After you came out of the salute and you hit your foot at the bottom of the pool and it wrecked your ankle. And I remember my cousin Eric going, "Aunt Cammy, it's because we're doing this on a Sunday." And I thought, really? God hurt my mom because we're having fun at a water park as a family on a Sunday?
Yeah.
So what do you...
Well, I know that I said that I shouldn't have been doing that on a Sunday too, but I don't believe that God is going to punish us, No, it's, and yeah, I guess I could have given you the wrong impression, by saying that, that God was punishing me. No, I was receiving promptings, that I shouldn't be there, but I just
Jamie.
ignored them, and it could have been a prompting. You're going to get hurt if you stay going, not because it was on Sunday. I mean, that's one of the 10 commandments to keep the Sabbath day holy, isn't it?
Yeah. I gotta look at the 10 Commandments. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, I think I should.
Anyway, I mean, so it's a commandment. We're supposed to worship God, and I remember growing up trying to figure out, okay, so what can I do on Sunday that would be worthy of the Sabbath,
Day of rest.
And some of the things that I've learned recently is like if you've got a family member or friends that are moving and they need help, or they have a water leak, or that that is wonderful to help on a Sabbath day, because you're helping your fellow man, just a lot of different things of, where there's things that we know that we're not focusing on God or on, helping each other, activities that probably aren't the best thing to do on the Sabbath. And by the reason why we're counseled not to go shopping is because you're making somebody else work on the Sabbath.
Yep.
The
only reason why they're there is because you're showing up to buy stuff.
And it's apparent that we all still struggle with that, because we have talks or sermons about keeping the Sabbath day holy all the time.
Yep.
So apparently we're not perfect at it, So yeah, I mean,
that's the thing, that God knows that. God knows that all of us are sinners, and we're never going to be perfect or anything like that. And so,
so I have a question for you. So what was it that, because when you stopped going to church, there was a lot of time, that a lot of years in between then and now, when you would be asking a question and my answer was church, God, being faithful, being, chaste, all of these different things, and you were not having anything. You didn't want anything to do with it, and you didn't want to believe it. So what was the catalyst that got you to realize that Jesus is the way and that you needed him in your life?
After my last, it's been a year and a half. Check this out. Since I was 15, I've been in and out of a relationship or a marriage so many, and in between each one was no longer than 2 months, 2 weeks to 2 months before I jumped into another relationship. And this month marks a year and a half, the longest I've ever gone being single, 100%, since I was 15. So that's part of the answer. If it wasn't for the last marriage, as terrible as it was then, it's the relationship with her is way better now. It's way awesome. However, that got me into one. I teach acting, so I love the arts. And so diving into really caring about what I was teaching and acting, and really what is acting, what is film acting, what is all this thing about art and all this other stuff. And I was doing a lot of motivational things, like the words of affirmation. Your affirmation, like, what was one of them? Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, right? And you say that 3 times and you meditate, right? And you do that. And for a while, some of those things were coming true, right? You put it out in the world, right? And you get it back. The secret, Well, I was really wanting to teach a good class and really help people understand acting. And I learned that the secret to acting, or arts in general, is understanding emotions. Understanding them, not like, oh yeah, that person's happy, that's sad. Okay, now what you feeling in the moment, not Not after the fact, not every time after the fact where, oh man, I should have did this better, or I could have taken a deep breath, or I could have walked away. In the moment realization, well, peeling back the layers of what acting's about, and understanding that everything of art, all art is emotional. That's why a statue or a painting can make you cry. That's why someone will completely go on social media and light a movie up or a TV show saying this thing sucks. It made you feel something. Understanding those emotions. Well, I've also been I've always had that little light in my soul and my heart of the pursuit of Christ. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. Go away. And then I'd keep on coming back, or things would happen. I'm like, whoa, why are you punishing me? You know, when I had that mindset. Well, really understanding my own emotions, and then hearing the
welcome back, Jamie.
Hearing all the it also, I'm a person that I'm an audibly sensitive and visually sensitive. Like when I'm watching YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube. And if the person's voice that's narrating is, I change it. I don't care what the content is. If that person's voice is like to my ears for some reason, I can't listen to it. So there's many times I would go to church and I would just hear these preachers preach. And the word of God, or just, I'm like, really? This is church? Oh,
I know.
And then finally, I see this dude like me, not perfect, speaking awesomeness at Zootown Church, and the feeling I got when I would go, feel good, and then like the messages would be not like, I know sometimes like messages like, oh my gosh, it spoke to me, but it was like as generic and like vague as like a fortune cookie, you know, horoscopes. But it was specific on like things I was literally praying about or talking about. So having a good pastor that I really related to has helped me so much more. But even just the pursuit and how things happen.
So was there any,
in a very positive way, like
right,
that wouldn't have happened with anybody else.
Right.
That guy right there.
And you know, I know that God speaks to us in ways that we can understand. You know,
Yes.
and so like I know that the music and Pastor Scott, I've enjoyed, you know, going and listening to his sermons too. You know, and I really do, you know, all of the Christian music that is out there now, I mean, it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And just, you know, it's got such good messages and everything, and you know, so I can see how that would really touch you. I think that you were just in the right frame of mind, because I think before, when you were in that closed-hearted, you know, I'm doing it on my own, I don't know that you would have even been impacted by even what he said at that point.
I just realized this the other day. So my pursuit of serial monogamy, like I always had to have a girlfriend. I always had to have that partner, right?
Mhm.
The reason why I started going to Zootown Church is because I met this girl at the bar, and she was just out with a party, and she didn't drink at all. She didn't go out and party. She was just out for her friend's birthday, and she's like, "Oh yeah, go to Zootown Church." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that, kind of." And I started going there, and so I'd go there off and on, even after she was like, "Nyeh," right? And so I'd go there off and on, and so I was led to that church by a woman. The same reason why I joined the military was due to a woman. That's why I did so many things in life was for a woman or to get closer to
At
a
least
woman.
this one turned out for the good.
Yeah. She ended up going on and getting married and having twins. It was funny. As I have a video of her mid-pregnancy, like about to pop, like 8 days before my living statue, when I was recording a lot of my living statue performances. I have her on video. So after I saw her at church,
did she know
like
that it was
last
you?
year, I was like, "Hey, not to be creepy, but I got you on living statue." So.
Oh, so she didn't know it was you?
No, she didn't know it was me at all.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So, okay, so I have a question for you. So in our church, we do what's called family home evening. So it's like the Monday night, the families get together and they'll have a lesson. You know, there's usually a spiritual topic that they learn about. There's fun games. There's always the refreshments afterwards, or just fun activities, just something to spend together as a family. Do you remember any of them, or did you like them? What was your impression of family home evening?
Yeah, no, I remember the games. I remember vividly this one when we were on Mullen Road. Um, that house. I remember one of the missionaries came over and he was like teaching something with like cups, and he was like it was like a visual, and I don't remember like what he was taught. I don't remember like his name. I just remember him going like, I have ADD, so I gotta use stuff to teach stuff with. I didn't give an example. But I also remember even before that, when we lived down in Frenchtown, I would go on treks, and then even up in Ronan, I would go with the missionaries on like bike rides and stuff like that, and we would go talk to people. They seemed so much older when I was like 10, 11, or
Oh
12.
yeah,
They were like only 19. Like now looking back, I'm like,
yeah,
they were literally kids. They
yeah,
were literally kids
yeah, and they're
leading a
even
12-year
younger
old.
now. The guys can go out when they're 18. Oh. But you know what? I have met some just such amazing missionaries. My granddaughter is on a mission in North Carolina, and they're able to use the internet now. During COVID, they were doing that a lot more. I really, COVID was a trying time, but like this kind of thing was
Yeah.
really, COVID was the catalyst, for people to be able to do this kind of thing a lot more. But so
You remember
now,
Skype?
oh yeah, yeah.
It's like Zoom took it out back and was like, I got it from here, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so my granddaughter, it's wonderful to be able to see pictures and hear her, her experiences, and just read her spiritual thoughts. She's very inspiring. I'm just blown away by her. Yeah, and she's just happy, happy, happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. So,
Um, I wanted to address some of Jamie's comments. Um, so they relocated Mormon church, like relocated. Was it like an LDS church, or was it a fundamentalist LDS church? Because I've never heard of like a church like being
oh,
there and then all of a sudden goes deuces and like goes to a different state.
right.
Yeah, because that right there, that just doesn't. That seems weird. I don't. The thing is with like so many things in life. And I mean this in the most like I don't know. That's the only way I can like really put it. And I mean it like respectfully. But there's a lot of people out there that are just that they misunderstand, or they're gullible, or they don't seek their own truth or knowledge, or they're just parrots. Like here's an example of people that are just like parrots, and they don't like they just listen to something and then they go, oh yeah, that's fact, and then they just regurgitate it to somebody else without even like going, that doesn't seem right. Let me do my due
Right.
diligence. And I was at the park with Jet, and there's a bunch of kids, it's a sunny day in Montana, so everyone's out. It's like cockroaches. Sun. And so we're at the park, and this like kids like I think like 7 or 8. And I didn't hear like the previous part of the conversation between him and this other girl the same age. But she goes, "What's Trump?" And he's like, it's our president and he sucks. And like,
and
I'm just like, wow, that parent never talks about the president, Donald Trump, at all around the kid, or gives his very strong opinion. You know, this little ball of clay is just absorbing the parents' me about who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I haven't voted since I was 18, and I've been in the military. People like, Jared, why didn't you vote? I'm like, I fought for the right to choose to vote or not. Choice. I'm like, I would rather put all my focus on God and Jesus and helping my community than worrying about that. I'm not relying on a man to help the United States. I'm relying on God to help the United States. So it's just, people seek the truth. If you're an adult and you feel it doesn't feel right or sound right, because it probably isn't, seek the truth.
Well, and I mean, there's so many things. I mean, if anybody told me, that somebody else believed in a spaghetti monster, I'd be like, what? What?
Because that's exactly the face that you made when I was like, hey, Mom, did you hear about like Mormons and spaghetti monsters and stuff?
I know. Really? I mean, do some digging and just, because there's lots of different things that, that you could say about other faiths that are not of your own, that you could be totally wrong. So Jamie, my granddaughter is 21, I believe. The girls go out when they're 19. 19 or no, they go out when they're 20.
Cool.
And so, yeah. So what is going to be huge, Jamie?
This podcast. Just kidding.
Oh. So Jared, one of the questions you were going to ask me was what were some of the things that I liked about growing up in the church. So one of the things that I really enjoyed was the church potluck dinners and talent shows. We would have those like once a month, and everybody came out. I grew up in Anaconda, Montana, and there was just the neatest people. It was the older. I got bullied a lot too when I was in high school, and if it wasn't for the older people in the church that just saw me as a nice young lady and just was very supportive of everything that of me, they were the ones that really kept me strong in the faith and helped me just develop my testimony of God and my responsibility to be a good person. And so, but I just loved the dinners. The Relief Society is the organization, the women's organization in the church, and we have sacrament meeting. That's our worship service, and then we have Sunday school, or we break into different auxiliaries, and the Relief Society is one of them. Anyway, growing up with the Relief Society, there was all these old ladies that would teach you how to crochet and how to knit and how to cook and everything. And at the dinners, they would make the most interesting Jell-O dishes. There would be like lime Jell-O with shredded carrots and shredded celery. And I know it sounds hideous, but I loved it.
Hey,
and there's usually walnuts in there. So there was usually walnuts in there too. But this one time, so we were having, there was just a ton of people, and we always had the dinners in the gymnasium, and the windows in the gymnasium, there was a fairly decent windowsill, and so it was kind of overflow seating, right? And or you could stand there. And my sister had gone and she had gotten her full plate. She had it loaded, and she went and she put it in the windowsill because she was going to just stand there eating it. And she went back to get some dessert, and I looked, and one of the teenage guys didn't look, and he sat in her plate. I remember so vividly watching him walk away and a great big clump of mashed potatoes falling off of his butt. He She didn't see it happen. She came back and her whole plate was just like, blah.
She's like, what happened to my plate of potatoes?
It's just like, I opened up my
Did she pick it up and go?
No, she took it back and got it. Oh my word, that sight will be burned into my memory forever. Big clump of mashed potatoes falling off of his butt.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
We would have. I mean, so I grew up performing, and so my sisters and my mom, we would we would perform and stuff all the time. And I think I got my feistiness from my mom because she was a little bit defiant towards the old ladies at church, because the old ladies could be, kind of like librarians, it's just like, to the letter of the law, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this one song my mom found. So we have the song "There's Sunshine in My Soul," okay, and it's just really nice. It's a little bit upbeat of a hymn, there's sunshine, blessed sunshine, da, 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 right? And so my mom found a jazzy version of "There's Sunshine in My Soul," and it was it was kind of like, oh, there's sunshine. It was just kind of da 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 da. It had like a syncopation, and it was just. She goes, I don't care what those little old biddies say. I'm gonna play it anyway.
I think that's where we get our defiance a little bit.
Oh,
speaking of music in the church, how come what instruments are only allowed to be played in the chapel, and which ones are not allowed to be played?
So percussion instruments are not allowed to be played in the chapel, and I don't know if this is from way back when. I don't know if it was when guitars, drums not, but there's okay. So, and it also depends on the bishop, because he's the one that is the father of the ward, of the branch. And so sometimes you'll have a bishop who's a little bit more lenient on that, and then you have some that are to the letter of the law too.
Prime example of humans making their own choices that has nothing to do with Jesus or God.
Right. But the reason why they have said no percussion is because they just feel like it takes away from the reverence, and it's not to say that the kind of music that you have at your church isn't spiritual, because there's a lot of music that is, the Lamb of God that we just did, that had a full symphony. It had timpani. It had, it had a lot of percussion, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was very spiritual. But during the sacrament meeting, that's our most sacred meeting outside of going inside the temple. And so they want to keep it as the most reverence that they can. Yeah, no cowbells.
Well, this is like a great example of how every human on this planet, even identical twins, are gravy. Different. Right. What's that?
It was brown gravy.
Oh, the potato butt, mashed potato butt. But anyway, like I went to a state conference a month ago, something like that. Just recently, the first time I've been to a Mormon church in a good minute, and it was exactly how I remembered it, because it was the church that we went to when I was growing up, between like 4th and 8th grade, and I need the music. I gotta have some lights. I gotta have some kind of visual, not entertainment, but draw. Like, I'm like, and it's songs that are popular I listen to, like, on Christian songs and stuff like that, like some good old Brandon Lake, you know what I mean? But like, and so I know the songs, and just the music growing up in the church.
You know what, Jared?
Church was snooze fest.
There are some, and oh my word, some of them are pitched so high, but they are revising the hymnal.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so they're going to be bringing back some of the old hymns that were taken out the last time. I think it was in the 1980s that they revised it. So like, oh goodness.
But a quick thought, also just a little tidbit of information. When I was raised in the LDS church was 3 hours every Sunday.
Oh, you weren't
3
even,
hours, 3.
Jared,
And when you're a kid, oh.
Jared, there used to be, okay, it was Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. That's one of them that's being put in there. Anyway, when I was growing up, so there was a cartoon and it was a used car salesman. And there was this car and it was just like all tired and everything. And the guy says, "Oh, it was just driven by a little lady to church." It was because when I was growing up, so there was primary on Tuesday or Wednesdays. So primary is for the younger children. And so we would have primary and activities. Then on Sundays, we would go and there would be, I can't remember if we had sacrament meeting or opening exercise. I think it was opening exercises in the morning for an hour, and then we would go to class, which was an hour, and then on a different, and then late we would go home, and then later on that night we would come back for sacrament meeting, and then on a different day, like on Tuesday, the ladies would come for Relief Society. I mean, we were at church just about every single day. So when we went to 3 hours, it was like on the same day, oh my word, our gas bill will go down dramatically. Yeah. Yeah. So 3 hours on the same day was a big savings of time compared to what we used to do.
Now it's what, 2 hours?
Yeah, now it's 2 hours. And that was, and we have what's called the Come Follow Me program, and it's instruction for families. So rather than spending 3 hours at church, we have lesson material that families should go home and study together. And, I know that there's a lot of inspired programs in the church because the Come Follow Me program came out a year before COVID. And so when all the churches were being shut down and we weren't allowed to come back, go to church, we already had church material and we're already used to, to having lessons and gospel lessons at home. And so they were able to just go into that seamlessly. Yeah. Yeah.
Jared, do you hate the number 3? Actually, no, I actually really like the number 3.
What's with the number 3?
I don't know if you're meaning the number 5 because I've been married and divorced 5 times. I got 3 baby mamas. But no, actually, I actually use I actually use 3 because 1, it's the Holy Trinity. 3. And I also break things down to 3 simple steps with things in my life that are too overwhelming and complicated. So I have like 3. I have 3 like tips for like artists that just feel overwhelmed with stuff. And how to like break it down to it with their mental sake and how to get organized in 3 easy steps. That's for another episode. But I want to go. I like to keep this. Speaking of family, I just got my boys over here. We're gonna call it a night. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you, Mom. And as the sizzle of another episode comes to a close, we want to thank you for tuning in to Hot Dog Live. It's been a flavorful journey from art to Jesus Christ and everything in between. We are immensely grateful for our special guest, Cammy Maughan, aka my mom, for bringing her lifelong Latter-day Saint perspective to the table once again. Before we wrap up, remember, our perspectives are brewed from personal experiences and observations, not legal advice. Always seek your own truth and knowledge. Love God, love people, love thy neighbor as thyself. Until next time, keep those condiments handy and stay hungry for those more divine insights. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you. And if you have suggestions for topics that you would like to hear, be sure and let us know too.
Because Hot Dog Live is not just about faith and stuff like that. We're talking about arts. We're talking about emotions, and we're talking about social truths. So anything along those lines and topics, let us know. Give us a suggestion. If not, we'll see you guys either next Thursday or the Thursday after. But Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
You went Thursdays. You were cutting up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie, and everybody else that was on there. Have a great week.
Appreciate y'all walking. Remember to subscribe and click that bell for notifications for future Hot Dog Lives. Y'all have a good night.
Bye.